You want
markets.
to tell people what?
You think we should?
Yeah.
Okay. So, so this morning we announced that.
Breaking news today involving crypto, the Nasdaq. Also, Cardano founder issues a dire warning about this,
where you're good until the paradigm changes.
And certain altcoins are hitting their altcoin season now. But why? Watch today's whole video, click subscribe so you have an edge investing in crypto by staying informed. And let's start with the Nasdaq and the Nasdaq CEO right here officially filing with the US SEC to tokenize stocks, putting the traditional system on top of crypto.
So this morning we announced that we're going to be bringing tokenization into our markets. So making sure that equities are tokenized and traded on market, in the markets, not in a side sleeve, but actually in the core markets.
So the eventual goal, or is it today? 24/7, 365 equities, just let it rip constantly.
I mean, I think we are all moving in that direction. We announced several months ago that we're moving to 24/5, so we're kind of moving that way.
So Saturday and Sunday, not
for equities yet. I think that we have to. We're walking before we run, but I think that getting to 24/5 is a major advancement for the U.S. equities markets. And then on top of that, now with tokenization, if we can introduce that also into the markets, it allows us to really think about streamlining the post-trade processing, bringing and modernizing elements of the markets that have a lot of friction. We are hyper resilient and we're hyper scaled. We manage, like today, we had 95 billion messages come into our systems today, and we had a median, return time of 20 microseconds from order to trade. We handle like 3 million messages a second. It's hugely scaled. But then at the same time, once that trade occurs, there's a different process. And then the post-trade process, as we know, is an area where tokenization really shines. And really cutting down the friction, managing capital flows across the global ecosystem, and really bringing that capability into the market.
And the Nasdaq CEO really makes it known, in part because Trump admin crypto czar David Sachs is on stage with her, that this is a new paradigm.
Let me get your reaction to this. There's this very famous curve, which is like you get this early font of insanity, and then there's the trough of disillusionment, and then you grow through. And does it seem like crypto is actually in blockchain? It's finally real. It's like there's real companies doing real things, stablecoins, what Sachs did with the Genius Act.
Well, I actually want to point to that because, honestly, having regulators who want to work on bringing it into the mainstream and want to create the rules of the road is such a refreshing thing, because I think that it allows us all to understand how we can operate within a world where there are tenets of investor protection. The technology is going to have things we can and can't do, but also being forward-thinking and forward-leaning and how the technology is going to be applied is going to be critical. So we're very excited about the fact that we finally have this convergence of regulation between the traditional markets, the digital markets. How do we bring it all together to, frankly, advance all markets? And we're very, very excited about this.
This is one of the biggest announcements to hit crypto in years. This is massive. Now, the two big questions to me are, and number one, this is an ongoing story. So the minute I get new information, I will make a video, I will keep you informed. But the big question is, which blockchain do they choose to tokenize the Nasdaq stock market on? It needs to be one of the main ones because those have the most liquidity. They need liquidity. Or they issue their own private blockchain, a new blockchain, and they just make it compatible with Ethereum, soak up some of their liquidity, and change the paradigm. Cardano founder and friend of the channel just warned investors about this. Let me share this with you.
So now that regulation's moving the right direction, when you look at the Genius Act and the Clarity Act soon to come, all the big guys are going to come in, not just the big banks, but also the Mag 7. So Microsoft's going to come in, Google's going to come in, Amazon's going to come in. All these companies are experimenting with blockchain technology. Google even built its own blockchain based on Starkware. So all these people have this amazing technology. They have no incentive to go boost Ethereum or deploy on Ethereum. They can be Ethereum adjacent or gather liquidity, but they own the users. They have 3.5 billion users when you look at where they sit. So they can put a wallet in Android, they can put a wallet in Windows, they can put a wallet on their platforms. And when and where they do that, suddenly they're kind of kingmakers of the on and off ramps, and they're probably going to do something in a different direction. So it's not to say they couldn't potentially find a future in all of this, but it's hard to manage that type of monopoly when you have all these forces changing. It kind of feels like a Yahoo, or it kind of feels like a BlackBerry, where you're good until the paradigm changes. And then when the paradigm changes, you collapse.
Now, a good sign is that the United States government Department of Commerce last week announced they would be tokenizing financial data on the blockchains.
The Department of Commerce is going to start issuing its statistics on the blockchain.
They selected 10. They selected to tokenize data on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Tron, Stellar, Avalanche, and then Ethereum L2s, Arbitrum, Polygon, and Optimism. So if the Nasdaq follows, this is bullish. In fact, things like this, fundamental events, paradigm shifts like this, could honestly lead to one of the biggest Giga Chad, God Candle bull runs like we've never seen before. Now, the Russian government is also warning about crypto. We have certain altcoins going through altcoin season, but I will be making a dedicated video on sponsor of the channel, Plasma, very soon. Highly recommend you give them a follow on X, link down below. I'm following, because this is the first blockchain purpose-built for stablecoins. And stablecoins, obviously, huge market. They're backed by Peter Thiel's Founders Fund. They're backed by Bitfinex, as well as the Tether CEO, so that's big. And in simple terms, think of them like an AWS for stablecoins, meaning infrastructure designed to do one thing perfectly. They are one of the fastest growing chains in history, with over $1 billion in TVL at launch. Always more we could get into, but I'm going to make a dedicated video on this, so highly recommend you give them a follow, link down below. And it's no wonder that breaking news, Putin's advisor warns of a US conspiracy to wipe out our $35 trillion in debt using crypto, using gold, and listen to how I think victimized he sounds, because there's not a damn thing they can do about it other than follow and buy more, buy Bitcoin.
Америка прямо сейчас пытается поменять правила на рынке золота и криптовалют. Вспомните, какой у них долг. 35 триллионов долларов. В общем-то, это два альтернативных валютному сегменту мировых рынка. Действия Вашингтона в этом направлении отчетливо демонстрируют одну из главных американских задач. Они очень хотят решить проблему снижения доверия к доллару. США, как это было и в 30-е, и в 70-е годы, будут решать свои финансовые проблемы за счет всего мира, загоняя всех куда? В криптовалютное облако. Со временем, когда часть госдолга США будет размещена в стейблкоинах, США обесценит этот долг. Еще раз простыми словами. У них сейчас валютный 35-триллионный долг, они его загоняют в крипту, в облако, обесценивают и начинают с нуля. Это для тех, кто очень любит заниматься криптой.
So Putin's advisor is saying at the country's Eastern Economic Forum that the United States is about to use Bitcoin and gold and crypto, so he probably means stablecoins, to get rid of our debt. And then he talks about a crypto cloud where he thinks, just like we did with gold back in the 70s, we'll inflate the supply again by printing more. Get on board or get left behind, Russia. We have coins like Aether making all-time highs, and people are wondering why, even though, yes, we retraced in the last couple of days. Well, per market data, the altcoin's value jumped from lows of about 3 cents to climb as high as 4.4 cents across cryptocurrency exchanges. And that surge came as Aether announced a key partnership with stablecoin platform Credible Finance, unveiling the first decentralized physical infrastructure network powered crypto credit card, meaning that financial companies are starting to see value in DePIN, and Aether is one of the blue chip DePIN coins. Something else I do think is worth mentioning is that Aether has real recurring revenue. Not many businesses in crypto make money. Aether is one of them that has annual recurring revenue and growing. And this is due many companies across many different countries. So we see Singapore, United States, Japan, Turkey, Vietnam, South Korea, etc., all buying on-chain compute. So these are all on-chain compute purchases. That's why headlines like this, to me, are cool to see. If anybody is looking to buy, sell, or trade any of the cryptos mentioned in today's video, I recommend taking advantage of the bonuses. This is limited time only for the Altcoin Daily audience, link down below. And like always, see you tomorrow.